Today, we're comparing two of the most interesting small-displacement sport bikes in the world right now. On one side, the 2026 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-4RR, a high-revving inline-four that behaves like a mini-superbike. On the other side, the 2026 Kove 400RR, a newer competitor that's quickly gaining attention for offering incredible performance and even more displacement at a lower price. Now that we've introduced both bikes, let's start with the engine, because this is where these two machines really define themselves. Let's start with the 2026 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-4RR. The ZX-4RR is powered by a 399 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline-4 engine, which is extremely rare in this category. It produces approximately 77 horsepower at around 14,500 revolutions per minute, and up to 80 horsepower with ram air. The bike also gives you 39 Newton-meters of torque at around 13,000 revolutions per minute. What makes this engine special isn't just the numbers, it's how it delivers power. This engine revs all the way to 16,000 revolutions per minute, which gives it a completely different personality compared to twins. At low RPM, below about 6,000, the bike feels relatively calm and controlled. But once you pass 8,000 RPM, the engine starts to wake up. And above 10,000 revolutions per minute, it becomes extremely aggressive, with a strong rush of power all the way to redline. This creates a riding experience similar to a super sport bike, just in a smaller package. Now let's talk about the new 2026 Kove 450RR. The Kove 450RR features a larger 443 cubic centimeters inline-4 engine, moving it a step ahead of the old 400 cubic centimeter class. It produces approximately 70 horsepower at 13,000 revolutions per minute and pushing to 75 horsepower with ram air, and 39 Newton-meters of torque at 11,000 revolutions per minute. On paper, the torque matches the Kawasaki, but the real difference comes in refinement and tuning. The Kove engine also revs high and produces most of its power in the upper RPM range. However, compared to the Kawasaki, the engine feels slightly less smooth and less refined in how it builds power, though the extra displacement gives it a bit more grunt in the middle of the rev range. Now specs only tell part of the story. What really matters is how these bikes feel when you twist the throttle in real riding conditions. So let's break down the power delivery and character. The ZX-4RR is a very high rev-focused machine. At low RPM, its power feels soft and lazy, and the throttle response is controlled. This makes it manageable in city riding, but once you push it into higher RPM, its power builds rapidly. The engine becomes very aggressive, and the acceleration becomes much stronger. This creates a very rewarding experience for riders who enjoy revving the bike out. Now, the Kove 450RR follows a similar philosophy, but with a slightly different feel. It still relies heavily on high RPM for performance, but throttle response can feel less precise. Power delivery is slightly less linear, and engine vibrations may be more noticeable at higher revs. In real-world terms, the ZX-4RR is more refined, more predictable, and has better rider feel. The Kove might be less polished, but it feels exciting and brings you that inline-four scream at a lower price. Power is only one part of performance. How the bike handles that power, especially in corners, is just as important. So now let's look at the chassis and suspension. Let's start with the 2026 Kawasaki ZX-4RR. The ZX-4RR uses a high-tensile steel trellis frame designed for rigidity and precise handling. Its suspension setup on the front is equipped with 37mm inverted Showa SFF-BP with top-out springs that gives you about 120mm of wheel travel, while at the rear is equipped with a Showa BFR Sea-Light gas-charged monoshock with a piggyback reservoir that gives you about 124mm of wheel travel. This setup is designed with track performance in mind. In corners, the ZX-4RR feels very stable when leaning, predictable mid-corner and very controlled under hard braking. Because of its refined suspension tuning, the bike inspires confidence when riding aggressively. Meanwhile, with the new 2026 Kove 450RR, the Kove 450RR uses a lightweight chassis with a sport-focused geometry. Its suspension includes a 41mm inverted KYB front forks with 120mm of wheel travel. It is fully adjustable on the performance variant. Rear KYB monoshock with 130mm of wheel travel, that is fully adjustable. But in terms of handling, the bike feels incredibly light and agile, and direction changes are quick to maneuver. However, when pushed harder, the stability is slightly lower than the Kawasaki due to its ultralight 165kg curb weight. Suspension feedback is good, but the overall chassis feel is not as refined as the Ninja. This becomes noticeable during aggressive cornering or high-speed riding. Now let's talk about top speed. While it's not the most important factor, it gives us a good idea of overall performance and aerodynamic efficiency. Let's start with the 2026 Kawasaki ZX-4RR. Its top speed plays around 225 to 230 km per hour, with the ECU uncurbed, or at around 140 to 143 miles per hour. At high speeds, the ZX-4RR feels stable, planted, and very confidence-inspiring. The aerodynamics and the 189 kilograms, 416 pounds, curb weight work together with the chassis to keep the bike unshakable even at its limit. On the other hand, the 2026 Kove 450RR top speed is an advertised 226 kilometers per hour, or around 140 miles per hour. The Kove is incredibly fast, and because it only weighs 165 kilograms, 364 pounds, it gets to that top speed very quickly. However, at higher speeds, stability is slightly less refined due to its ultra-lightweight. Vibrations from the 443 cubic centimeters engine can be more noticeable through the clip-ons. So in real-world riding, the ZX-4RR feels like a mini-superbike, refined, precise, and very stable at speed. The Kove 450RR is impressive for its raw power-to-weight ratio and aggressive performance, but it doesn't quite match the Kawasaki in overall vibration damping and high-speed composure. I know you're probably wondering how each bike sounds. Let's listen to them one by one, starting with the stock exhaust and then moving to the upgraded one. So when it comes to engine performance, power delivery, and handling, the ZX-4RR takes the lead in refinement and precision. But the Kove 450RR offers an explosive, lightweight experience that is hard to ignore for the price. In Part 2, we'll break down fuel efficiency and range, braking systems and tire setup, technology and rider aids, and the final verdict. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe and check out Part 2 on the channel.
Method.